Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia, and this is my mother, Ima. Hey, Ima.
Hey, my little loving.
All right, so I have a starter question. This question, it's funny because I thought about this since like sixth grade. So Bill Gates said, I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. What's a real life example of this?
I love that.
You've never heard that before?
No, that's a new one on me.
Yeah.
Cute. At least we'll find an easy way to do it. I love that. Yeah, I think that's got some merit because I know there have been times in my life where I probably could have done something an easier way, but instead I took the harder route, the more
Like
difficult route.
like what do you mean? What for example?
Sometimes in math, there were steps I could have skipped, make it easier, or like doing math problems. But instead, no, I wanted to go through every single step because in a way I kind of don't trust myself sometimes.
Mm.
And that's why sometimes I go slower with more details and make it a little harder on myself because I'm afraid of making a mistake. So I want to do
Interesting.
it, a little slower, a little faster, type of thing. But I'm getting a little wiser on my old age. Like there were a couple places, like I work in a different part of Florida, and from where I live.
Yeah.
And there were a few times when I was going to just go back to where I live in Florida to, you know, take care of like having some shoes fixed or different, errands. And then it occurred to me, wait a minute, where I'm working in Florida is a very big commercial area. And I went on my GPS and found out, sure enough, the stores that I needed to go to, um, the ones that were where I'm working in Florida, were just right around the corner from me. Just like 3 minutes away, 7 minutes away. I said, hey, so that's stupid for me to go all the way back to Boynton. I might as well stay here and just take care of what I have to take care of here. There was also when I was in Barcelona, um, I needed to go to the only kosher store that they have in Barcelona. And usually, what I would do in the morning, I would take a 10-minute walk to the local Starbucks. And for breakfast, get my coffee, have an apple, sit and listen to like maybe Rabbi Gordon Shiurim on Rambam. And so my plan was originally was that I was going to, go to Starbucks, get my coffee, then go back to my hotel, and then go to the kosher store. And then something occurred to me. I said, wait a minute, let me check this out. Maybe I'm closer to the kosher store here at Starbucks. And I looked, sure enough, the kosher store was just like a 15-minute, 20-minute walk away from where I was at Starbucks, whereas to go back to my hotel would have been a half an hour walk.
Yeah.
So I did that. So I did that rather, made it a little easier on myself. So I'm trying to get, I'm trying to get smart about this as I age.
Yeah, because I've had that. I mean, I heard this quote when I was a kid, and I've implemented it to my life to the T. But there were some times where like I was put in a situation where I had to take the harder routes. I had to go the harder direction because
Hmm.
certain people I was around, like they were like determined to make their life difficult, but they wanted the most difficult like path.
Hmm.
So that was always a headache. But for me in general, I always felt like there's always an easier, better way to do things. And a lot of times when I'm working, um, and I'm stuck on a situation where I'm like, there's got to be an easy way to do it. I just go online, type in the situation, and sure enough, there most likely there's somebody that has answered that question like 5 years ago and has like the quickest, most easiest answer to do it.
Well, the great thing about the information age today and the computer is that you can do that. I mean, in my day growing up, everything was done from scratch. We didn't have the computers. The most you could do, the most that we had is if you needed information, you could call Pratt Central Library and ask them, and they would give you the information you needed over the phone, or at least tell you where you could find it.
Yeah.
Pratt Central had that service, so we did that a few times. The but I remember there was one time uh, where one where your younger sister was having a very hard time trying to solve some sort of math problem, and we just we had an idea. We just went on the computer and typed in like algebra problem, algebra problems, whatever, and we typed in the problem, and sure enough, got the information
Yeah, that's awesome.
right there. But then there was one time, which was really funny. There was one time where she had a question, typical one of these typical algebra questions about you have two boats, um, they're this many miles away. If one is going this many miles per hour and the other is going this many miles per hour, how long will it take them to meet in the middle? So we decided to go on Surrey and ask Surrey.
That's cute.
And the answer we got on Surrey was, which boats are you talking about? And so your sister yells into the phone, Surrey, you're an idiot. And Surrey answers her back, I am not a real person.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so you know, finding like shortcuts and whatnot is really important. I think in life, and in life, you get there's always something that affects you. Um, what's a small act of kindness you were once shown that you will never forget?
Ooh, that's a gummy theme. Act of kindness I was shown that I will never
I have
forget.
one. I,
Oh, I gotta hear.
I'll
I'll hear yours first because I can't think of one yet.
so for me, it was Camp Gyneustrel Parksville. I was 12 years old. It was my first Friday night away from home, and I was extremely homesick. I was really, really homesick.
Mm.
And I was sitting at the table and everyone's singing, Shabbos songs. And I got, really teared up and I left the table. I just went
Mhm.
into the main vestibule, main hallway, because like I was really sad that I was missing my family for Friday night. And my counselor came up to me and asked me what was wrong. So I told him, and he sat me down and he worked me through it. And he was the nicest, the best counselor I ever had. And what's funny is that, like, even further on, other counselors that I had that were really good that I enjoyed, nothing matched to that level. I guess because you're that kid at 12 years old.
Aw,
It
mhm.
really meant a lot to me. Like I still have it, in my head. Like he was just the greatest
Aw.
counselor ever.
That was very sweet. What did he say to you
I don't know
exactly?
what he said. It's what I felt when he
Mm-hmm.
was talking. That it was gonna be okay. That it was
Mm-hmm.
gonna work out.
Mm-hmm. That is a very big problem. Like as far as camps go, the homesickness. That is, for at least the first, few days. And I saw that's one of the reasons why some of the camps do not have visiting days. And if I were in charge of a camp, I would not have visiting day because visiting day always comes just the kids are finally adjusting, finally getting over being homesick, and then boom, visiting day hits. And oh my God, the night of visiting day is miserable. The kids are crying, want to go home, miss my parents. It's like they're right back to square one. So I saw the way I saw the director of the camp where I was working handle a girl who was homesick. I don't think it was a good way to handle it. The director of this camp was one of these real blood and guts directors,
I hated
no
those.
nonsense people, yeah.
Yeah.
And she just basically told the girl to stop crying and shape up. And the girl said, "But this is a new experience for me." Since she yelled at her, "Well, just get used to it." which
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good way to. I think the way you're counseled, I think the best way to handle homesickness is for individual counselors to take these children individually and maybe take them to the kitchen and get them an ice cream or something. Called we have some special medicine here. Special medicine here for homesickness. Here, what flavor ice cream do you want? Yeah, type thing. You know, to show a little warmth, a little concern is really the best way to do it. You see, anybody engaged about kindness. Someone showed me kindness. Let me see. Kindness, kindness, kindness.
It's fun.
Someone to me.
Just I want to add to what you were saying. So while I'm
Mhm.
talking, you could think about it. But
Yeah.
you were talking about these no nonsense counselors and head counselors. I had that experience all the time. Like for some reason, the head counselors just had to be really mean, nasty people, or they had to at least act that way. I remember I was in EGP, a camp. I don't think it's around anymore. Um, in eighth grade, and I didn't really. I brought all my clothes. I brought 2 months worth of clothes to camp because I didn't want
Uh
to lose. I didn't want to do the laundry. I didn't want to lose clothes or
huh.
whatever. It was ridiculous. But 2 months, and I didn't know how
uh
to fold laundry properly. I didn't know how to fold my clothes. So I kind of folded it haphazardly, whatever. And this is like Erev Shabbos, so like we're supposed to clean the whole bunk for Erev Shabbos, and then the head counselor inspects the bunk, and judging by how well we did, he gives a certain amount of points. And the whole story with camp is that your bunk itself is supposed to get as much points as possible to win bunk of the summer.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
that's kind of how it works.
And punk
And
of the summer and $1.25 get you a medium cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts.
exactly. And my head counselor came in and he was walking around like he's some kind of drill instructor, just
Mhm.
just looking for all the wrong things and wrong problems.
Oh
And he
gosh.
looks at my bunk, he looks at my cubby with clothes, and he said, "Whose is this?" I said, "It's mine." And he just threw everything on the ground. Do it
Oh.
again, fix it up,
Oh
whatever.
gosh.
And like
Hmm.
I was like, whatever. My counselor was a really nice guy. What's funny is Pesci actually dated him for a little bit. Um, that's later on, whatever. Uh, he helped me. He taught me how to fold my laundry.
Uh-huh.
And he told me, he like, don't worry, it's okay. Like, we'll get through this.
Mhm.
And like, I get the reason why is because they're trying to control a bunch of rambunctious boys, and you got to
Mhm.
have some kind of stern, no nonsense person there. I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. But
And I found that as also like a counselor and a head counselor, you um there were times when I think I was more like a drill sergeant, and
mhm.
some of the some of my bosses had to like speak to me, and or other counselors speak to me and say, listen, you know, remember this is camp. It's supposed to be fun, a little more relaxed. It's not school. But the problem is, like you said, it's that it's that line. Where do you draw that line where on one hand you can't have the kids running amok, you do
Hmm.
have to have some discipline in camp in order for everyone to be safe and and well, but on the other hand, how far do you go with wanting to make it a fun experience for the kids too?
Yeah, and that's the thing you gotta cross. So do you remember anything, any nice things someone did for you that kind of sticks out?
Let me see. I i had to have had somebody nice in my life that did something for me. Only I can't seem to be able to
Anything, anything
recall.
someone did for you. You really think everyone was mean to you your whole life?
Anything. So they weren't exactly kind of mean. I don't know, but nice. Aunt Ann, my older sister, Aunt Ann, was a really good older sister. She she really took like a responsibility for me, you might say, and really guided me in a lot of things. And I remember, oh, I remember one time. What happened was my then boyfriend. I was like, I think I was like 15, something like that, whatever, 14, 15. My then boyfriend had gone off for a summer program to University of Maryland, and I hadn't seen him in a few weeks. And he came back to Baltimore finally from University of Maryland and was taking me out that night. and I put on this dress that I thought was a very pretty dress. I didn't realize, though, in all my innocence, that it was a little bit low cut.
Ah.
And Aunt Anne looked at me and she grabbed me by the hand and she dragged me up to the bed. She goes, "Come with me." She goes, "You haven't seen your boyfriend in like 2 weeks, and you are not wearing that. After not having seen your boyfriend in 2 weeks, this is what you're wearing." And she reached to my closet and she pulled out a dress that had that had a neckline right up to my neck and and, and, and buttoned tightly right at the bottom of right there at my neck. "You are wearing this."
That's nice. That's thoughtful.
Um, Trying to think what else. There was
Any friends do anything?
any friends do anything? Any friends do anything? Friends. Ah, trying to think. Friends. Friends. Yeah, yeah. There was one friend of mine who um she it was like at the end of the year, and the senior class was organizing all sorts of committees,
Yeah.
and i I didn't even bother going to the meeting because I was not very popular and I knew I wouldn't be chosen for any type of committees. And she grabbed me by the hand and says, come on, I want you to come." And she, you know, basically pulled me into the meeting. And then we got into the meeting. They were asking for people to nominate someone for different committees. And she purposely not had me not, she purposely nominated me for some of the committees, even though the rest of the people didn't. It wasn't approved by the rest of the people there. But I saw what she was trying to do. She was trying to get these kids, these ringleaders in the senior class, to kind of loosen up and accept me a little bit. There was no reason to really ostracize me the way they did.
So did that help? Did that work?
No, well, no, I appreciated what she did. It was really sweet of her. I saw what a really nice girl she was, but it did not help my popularity at all. I think at that point nothing would have helped my popularity.
Why?
Short of me saving the school from an atomic blast, I don't know. I was not a member of the in crowd. What can I tell you?
But
In
what
fact,
is
a
it?
lot of I had quite a few friends that weren't even in my school. Some of my friends were outside the school, actually.
What do you mean? They were friends for Schuld or
They
friends?
they were they were they were just friends from I belonged to BBYO, so they were
Hmm.
friends like from BBYO, or just people randomly I'd met, whatever, going out different places. I mean, I went out. I had a lot of dates. I went out, but for some reason, as far as like the senior class was concerned, you had your leaders there, and you had your in crowd, and I wasn't a member of the in crowd.
Okay. But
Like there
what?
was a woman. There was a. Would you believe there was a woman in our neighborhood? One of my neighbors, the one of our, you know, one of the mothers of one of the kids that went to our school, and she just came right out and asked me how did I feel not really being part of the being so nerdy, not being part of the in crowd. Came right out and blurted out, "How did I feel? Like, hey, how did I deal with it? Like, not being a member of the in crowd. How do I feel about it? Thanks for rubbing it in, lady." And so I said, "Well, we nerdy kids just get together, we make our own group."
Interesting.
Didn't have to how else to answer her.
So I guess when it comes to, I guess because people who are nerds or whatever outside the box, um, sometimes people can be really cringe. Do you know what cringe means in today's standard?
What does that mean? The
Cringe.
new lingo.
The
What?
cringe would be like something that doesn't sit right. Like maybe having, you know, I guess a birthday cake at a wedding. So what would be, I'd say, the cringiest thing you've seen a bride and groom do for a wedding?
Well, one time, we had a friend that was getting married at University of Maryland at the Hillel there, and he
Yeah.
asked me and your tati to stop at the bakery and to pick up the wedding cake for him. And when the baker brought out the wedding cake, I couldn't believe it. I said to the baker, I don't believe you people. How can you possibly send this cake to a wedding? It was lopsided. The icing was like lopsided. It looked like the guy who decorated it must have been drunk at the time. I just couldn't believe that this bakery was sending this wedding cake.
Well, so what else though? Like, I mean, have you ever been to like a wedding that was just kind of weird and awkward?
I'm trying to think a weird, awkward wedding. Do, 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 do. Weird, awkward wedding, awkward wedding, awkward wedding. Think. Awkward wedding. Yes. Interesting. Yes, now that you mentioned it, yes. Mm-hmm. Well, you before I go into my story, your older sister went to an awkward wedding. Did she ever tell you that one about that awkward
No,
wedding?
what about what?
Okay, what happened was it was Sephardic marrying Ashkenazic.
Okay.
The Sephardic mother, did not want her son
Oh, we
marrying this
mentioned this
Ashkenaz.
before. Are
Oh,
you
we
you're
did. I
talking
think.
about
Oh,
on
we
the
did mention it.
microphone? The
Yeah,
microphone? Yes, yes, we've
that one.
talked about that.
Okay, shall I
Talked about
repeat it
that.
in case we have new
No,
listeners?
we
Don't
mentioned it in
repeat
an
it.
episode a couple episodes ago. You don't
Okay,
listen,
fine.
you gotta really shine
Okay,
in. I don't care
but
to repeat.
okay, but okay. Here's how about this awkward wedding. First of all, the bride's father did not like the groom at all.
Oh wow.
Uh-huh. And not only that, you had part of his family, which, okay, it's one thing to be a religious, but to at least respect the feelings, to respect those people who are religious, to, just derech eretz, just, you might not be religious in your own personal life, but at least don't be obnoxious to the people who choose to be religious. At least, you know, show some respect to them. Well, at this particular wedding, there was not a mechitza, but there was no mixed dancing. In other words, the women were
Okay.
so anyway. A group of us women got together, and we were dancing for the kala. And this man from the groom side, I don't know if he was from the groom or the bride side, just to be obnoxious, purposely ran into the woman's circle and tried to grab a couple of the women by
What
the
the?
hands and dance with them,
Oh my
knowing that these are
gosh.
Orthodox Jewish women. And so we all just walked away. We just left. We just all walked away. Then, when the bride's father got up to like make his speech, he was a little. Let's put it this way. I think he had one too many.
Okay.
And he stands up and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, there is my beautiful daughter, and sitting next to her is the character." And now the chassan was wearing this hat, was wearing his black hat, and he says to the chassan, to his son-in-law, "Now take off the hat." And our friend, who was the son-in-law, says, "No, the hat stays on." And the father again said in a very stern voice, "Take off the hat." And people in the guests all started taking sides. Like some of the guests started shouting, "Take off the hat." And then there were other guests, like your father led the charge on the Orthodox side, saying, "No, don't take off that hat." And your father's voice, your father had a very
Yes, that
powerful
booming
voice.
voice.
Oh boy, you could hear it like miles away. And your
Yep.
father stood up and said, "Don't take off the hat." And then so the bride's father again, "Take off the hat." So at that point, the chassan, not wanting to please his father-in-law,
Took
not
off the
wanting
hat.
to have an all-out war, took off his hat.
Mm-hmm.
And the father of the bride says, Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my son-in-law.
Why? I hate that. I hate it.
Hmm.
Especially with Jews that aren't religious. They're so anti-religious. They have such a visceral hatred for their own kind. It's so frustrating. It is
I've
so
met people
frustrating.
like that. But you know something? I'm getting the impression that with the younger generation, it's not so much.
Hmm.
You have with the younger generation, there's more respect, and it's actually I see the younger generation is actually becoming more Jewishly involved, and even those who aren't antagonistic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're more likely to show respect for people who choose to be religious. I think it's part of also um, the whole idea that the younger generations are being raised with the idea of, um, I guess,
Being respectful. Yeah.
respect for all cultures,
Hmm.
respect for all religions and cultures and things like that.
Yeah.
So I hope that's what I hope that's what's going on. I'm trying to be
Hopeful,
optimistic.
optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hope
about
so
this.
too.
I'm trying to think of any other. Um, I'm sure people who are listening to us, I'm sure everyone's got their stories of awkward simchas that they that they've been to.
Yeah.
Um, I remember though, oh, not a simcha. What was kind of a simcha? I went to a women's convention,
Hmm.
a Jewish women's convention, and the next day was supposed to be this big, wonderful banquet to finish off what was a shot like a whole weekend. So it was a whole weekend, whole Shabbaton, you type thing. And that Sunday, the going away banquet was supposed to be something very, very special. Well, Motzei Shabbos, there was what happened was the banquet, the convention was being held in a different part of the country. And one of the big rabbis who was helping to organize, who was basically in charge of it, said he did not want to use any local caterers. He only wanted to use somebody from New York, like a high-end somebody from New York. And so they had no choice. The women who were organizing it had to go along with this rabbi who only wanted this caterer from New York. Well, as the caterer's helper, whoever they were driving down the huge truck full of the kosher food that we were supposed to have for the big banquet. Would you believe the truck caught on fire?
Wow.
And the woman who organized it gets a call, rousing her out of bed, 2 o'clock in the morning. We don't have any food. So they had to very quickly throw together something. So here we all come into this banquet hall expecting this like really nice high-end banquet, and we see tuna fish
Oh God.
and bread. So at first I thought, okay, this is the appetizer. And we're eating it and eating it. And so I said to somebody sitting next to me, what's the main course? She goes, eat up. This is the high end. This is the high end, your fancy banquet. I go, what? She goes, this is it.
Oh gosh.
So the rabbi who was in charge of it got up and he says, okay, he says, I want to apologize, and I'm sure you were all owed an explanation. And he
Yeah.
told everybody about, what happened the night before and basically how they had to throw something together as quickly as possible. And uh, I
Have
was I was not happy. None of us were not happy.
Have you ever seen a proposal that's gone wrong?
What this went wrong?
A proposal that's gone wrong.
Proposal going wrong. Oh my goodness. Proposal
Like
going wrong.
the woman says no.
I know that they had something many, many years ago on the news about a guy who took his fiance out to this bluff over the ocean or something because he wanted an exciting romantic setting. And I never said the opposed to a big wave came and washed her away.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry. Um, no, I'm trying to think of a proposal. Oh yeah, I got a good one
You
for
got
you.
one? You got one?
There was a woman I worked with, a young woman. She was only 17. They were from a non-Jewish woman from Glen Burnie. Now in those days, in a lot of non-Jewish communities, girls got married very young. It was not unusual for girls to get married at 16 and 17 among the non-Jewish community in some of these
Interesting.
areas. And so anyway, so she was telling me about how she just gotten engaged. She was telling me how her fiance proposed to her. That what happened was he came to her house and they started talking. They got into a fight. I don't know what it was about, but they got into a big fight.
Okay.
So he takes the ring, he takes the box with the ring out of his pocket. He throws it at her and says, "Here, shove this up your ass."
That's awesome. Did she say yes?
Yes.
Oh, that's so
She went,
sweet.
she went, what? She goes, she opened up the box and went, so what happened was she was only 17. She was like in her last year of high school.
Hmm.
So she was telling me that she wanted to kind of surprise her parents. So she says the next morning at breakfast, she had the ring on and she didn't
Hmm.
say anything, but she's sitting there at the breakfast table and she says she's like tapping her finger, like she's like tapping her finger with the ring against the plate as she's sitting there at the breakfast table. And her parents, they hear the ding, 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 and they don't know what's going on. They don't bother looking. And then she takes the glass with her orange juice and she starts tapping the top of the glass of orange juice with her ring finger. Ding, 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 ding. Finally, they noticed it. All I know is I went to congratulate her father was a manager. This was Burger King,
Oh,
where
okay.
one of my first jobs, and her father was the manager of Burger King. So I congratulated him, and he just went. He says, "Crazy kids."
Probably fought in World War II and seen stuff and has raised a kid and a child. And that's the shining moment of his daughter. Anything else?
I think any other engagements that no,
Gone wrong.
I can't think of I can't think of any. I don't think I cannot think of any engagements that I'm aware of where the girl said no.
Mm.
Usually by the time you're about to propose to a girl, you've been dating for quite a while.
That honestly, that's how
You should,
I noticed it. But like, I go online and I see these like videos of these guys asking these girls to marry them, and it's just like a disaster where like the girl's like no and like runs away, and like he did this giant public gesture. Like the weirdest thing is like, isn't something you talk about for like a year and a half before you even like move on to even considering popping the question, and not like what goes through these people's heads? They can just pop a question without like, I don't know, really thinking about it, so to speak.
yeah, I know what you mean. Like by the time you are ready to pop the question, you've been dating for a while, and you've been discussing it, and it's like you're pretty rest assured that you know the two of you are going to be on the same page about this. Unless I'm wondering how much of these things that we see online aren't
Aren't
what's it
real and
called?
staged.
Yeah, staged, right? Hmm.
Honestly, in today's day and age, it's a 50-50 shot. But even then, like like it's just kind of odd. I've read a few. Somebody even made a post one time on um on a message board of like guys who do that. Like, what's going through your head? And what is it? It's these guys who are like caught up in this weird romantic version of themselves or the woman that they're with, and they've only been dating for a couple of months, or some people actually, they thought they were dating when really the girl just thought they were being friends. Like
Ooh.
there's been situations like that I read where one guy was saying like, oh, like I thought we were dating for this whole time, and then the girl just kind of laughs and said, I thought we were just friends. The guy just gets that like thing.
Oh,
But
God.
that also, that's kind of weird. That's kind of odd. Like, don't you like bring up the situation. Like, are we like I was dating a few girls who tried to pull a friend zone situation with me, and I kind of called them on their BS right away. I'm like, are we friends or are we dating? Like, what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
And one girl tried to do this thing where she tried to pitter patter around it and say, "Well, I mean, I like you as a friend." I'm like, "Okay, so we're friends. So we're not dating?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know. Like, maybe we are." I'm like, "Okay, then I don't know what you want from me. And I'm not doing this." And I just got up and
Good
left.
for you. Good for you. That was a very smart thing to do.
I mean, it
Hmm.
was dragged on for about a year.
Mm.
It was dragged on this weird on and off thing where it's like we were
Hmm.
friends, and then I thought she was giving me signals that like maybe this is going further. So like
Hmm.
I kind of started pushing a situation where like maybe we should start dating and whatnot, and like we started becoming, I guess, more close.
Hmm.
Um, and then I got to a point where I'm like, so are we dating or like what's going on? And that's when she did
Hmm.
this weird pitter patter thing. And then what's funny is once I said, okay, we're done, I'm not doing this. Um, I hear through the grapevine she told everybody that we were dating.
Oh
It
gosh.
was weird. It was
Well, it
such
was
a
a good
weird.
thing. It was a good thing you split up with her because she sounds like she didn't quite have her head on straight.
And then I'll give you one better. Then I think it was last year, or was it 2 years ago? I bumped into her, and she's like, "Oh, I wanted to apologize. I'm sorry for everything that happened." And I'm like, "No worries, it's fine." Like I stopped thinking about it. It was just like, "What do you expect?" All right, whatever. Clearly, you're in your own little head, own little world.
Yeah.
You know?
That's in a way. I mean, no dating system is perfect. People aren't perfect, and I believe me, there's plenty to criticize about the shidduch dating system.
Oh yeah, that can go on for
But
hours.
one of the things that I appreciated about it, because I saw both, I was on both sides.
Yeah.
You know, I dated as a non-from person, I dated as a from person through the shidduch system. And one thing I liked about the shidduch system is that it cuts out a lot of BS. You and this guy know you are dating for the said purpose of marriage. There's no guesswork. And if you can't make up your minds, you know, in a reasonable amount of time, say give it like a couple months of dating, maybe 3 months. If you can't make up your mind after 3 months whether this guy is marriage material, so then you say goodbye and you move on. I
It's more
mean,
than just
this
that. I
it's
think
not
people.
it's there's no wasting of time. There's no guesswork. There's no, oh, will we get married? Will we not get married? Maybe she likes me as a friend. Maybe she does. Maybe there's none of this maybe stuff. It's very, it's very cut and to the point.
It's also, in my opinion, I think people have a gut reaction, and their gut is usually right. I think within the first 10 seconds, you can tell if someone's marriage material or not. And it's just that long story of you want to drag this out for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Like, what do you want to do? But within the first like 10 seconds, someone can figure something out. All right, we gotta go. We're out of time, but I'll talk to you later, Ema. Love you. Have a good Shabbos.
Okay, have a great Shabbos, honey. Love you. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I know you would like it, and my mother would too.